Welcome back to the Poker Model Hand Breakdown. Today we're going to look at a tricky situation when qualifying your hand on the flop. I have pocket jacks with 62,000 chips. The blinds are 800, 1600. So I have a medium stack. Let's see how the action moves around the table. Okay, the action folds to me on the button, which is a great place to be in with pocket jacks. The stacks on my left are 28,000 and 80,000. Now the 20 big blind threshold here is 32,000. So I'm raising here strictly because I have over 20 big blinds, the action is folded to me, and I have a pocket pair. So those are the three reasons. It happens to be pocket jacks, it happens to be on the button, which are two great things, but really those are the core reasons why I'm playing this hand. Now, I do as the poker model would instruct. I'd make a min raise here. And my first thought is I would really like the small blind to go all in. And the reason for that is the range of hands that the small blind would go all in here with is very wide. Pocket jacks is dominating most of them. So if there's an all in there and the big blind folds, I'm going to make what's called a snap call, and I would expect to be ahead. Let's see if that move happens. No. So the action goes all the way to the big blind there on the left, and the big blind decides to call. Okay, so the flop comes ace of hearts, king of hearts, 10 of spades. Now, this is where discipline comes into play, like we preach. Remember, you have to qualify your hand as good, bad, mediocre. So I had pocket jacks pre-flop. Amazing. Very happy about that. On this flop, I have almost a straight, I have high cards, I have all this cool looking stuff. But if we go back to the definitions, a bad hand, according to the poker model, is third pair or worse, inside straight draws, high cards, whatever. So even though I have two of the qualifications of a bad hand, we're still going to call it a bad hand. And what I mean by that is pocket jacks alone would be third pair, right? There's an ace and a king on the board. A jack on this board would be a bad hand because it's an inside straight draw, and a queen is the only card that fills up the straight. And even more, I have that backdoor flush draw of hearts. So a lot of players might look at this and say, ooh, I can get a royal flush. I can get all this stuff on the next two cards. How could this be a bad hand? Well, according to us, it is. Why? Because you're most likely not going to improve. This is typically as good as your hand's going to get, and yes, it will happen, you'll hit later, but we have to treat it like a bad hand. So with bad hands, just like if we had 2-3 of clubs here or pocket fours, we make a bet right now to win the pot. So I'm going to make this bet. So I make the bet of 3,000, which is about half the pot, slightly less. And again, I'm aware of my stack size. 32,000 is the threshold, so I'm okay there. My opponent can do one of three things as usual. Fold, very good, I'll win the pot. He can call, which, yes, if I had 4-5 or, 9-4 or whatever, obviously having pocket jacks here is better than having those hands if he just calls, because yes, there is that slight chance of something improving my hand, and then also he might check the turn, which allows me to see the river card also. That's all well and good, but we can't really plan on that. So if he calls and there's some type of action, it's pretty likely that we still don't have the best hand. But if he raises, just like with any other bad hand, we have to let go. Let's see which option he chooses. So my opponent raises to 9,000, unfortunately. I don't know if he's bluffing. I don't know what he has, but all I know is I had a bad hand and I tried to win the pot at that moment in time and it didn't work out. So I make the fold and I, basically look to the next hand to get back to whatever I was doing before, following the poker model. The worst thing I could possibly do is make that bet with a bad hand and then decide right now that, oh, I think he's bluffing, or, oh, now I can improve, and, oh, the pot's bigger. You can't do any of that. You have to know going into the hand what good, bad, mediocre is, and you have to execute, and you have to let go of hands no matter how pretty they look. So today we saw a really good hand pre-flop turn into a bad hand post-flop. We executed on the strategy. It didn't work out. And I just want to reiterate right now that you have to get used to these things happening also. Not everything is going to work all the time. Stick to it. You'll see in most situations you're going to win this pot, and you'll feel good. Your stack's fine. Don't get caught up in the emotion. And again, thanks for tuning in today. We will see you next time.